everyone, welcome back to my vlog. I'm Robin, or Hoppit's Reading List, and yes, we are already starting the vlog on Wednesday, but I have already finished a book, so let's jump right into that. Okay, so on Monday, I read Genderqueer, which is a graphic novel explaining the author's journey with their sexuality and gender identity. And honestly, I thought it was really, really well done. It explained a lot of different gender presentations. This is a book that I had had on my radar for a couple years, and I've been wanting to read it, so I'm glad that I finally did. And like I said, I thought it was really well done. Did a great job of sort of like personalizing their experience and but also making it easy to read and understand, and really feel that empathy for the confusion of just like, why can't it just be themselves? so yeah, I thought it was great. I really, really enjoyed it. So I gave it 5 stars. And it only took me like, I want to say it only took me like maybe an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours to read. Just because it's a graphic novel, so like I can flip through that really easily. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm happy with I was very happy with it. I highly recommend it, and I will be interested in writing the assignment for it because it's 2 pages. The other assignments that I've done for my banned books class, which is why I read this book, have been like 1-page like reflections on, you know, how the material, something like Animal Farm or Handmaid's Tale, or you know, any of the other books that I've read so far this semester, like relate to sort of bigger global issues. And so obviously this section is about gender. But yeah, I was just like, okay, well, it's 2 books, because I also read All Boys Aren't Blue for this section. So I'm like, so it makes sense that it's 2 pages. I'm just like, oh, we're stepping up. So, but yeah, I did that. And then yesterday, the only thing I read was I finished reading, no, I won't say I finished, well, I did my reading for my banned books class of the Introduction to Women, Gender, Sexuality Studies. I have not finished the book. I still have like, I think like 50 pages left, but I will finish that at some point. At some point this year, I will finish it. But I finished reading the sections that I needed for class. It was good and informative. You know, it doesn't spend a lot of time on any particular thing. It's very much an introduction of like, hey, here are these terms. You should know, like, you know, some different ways of looking at it, and moving on to another thing that you should also know. So it's very like it's not an info dump, but it's just like here you go. Here you go. So, but it's well done. It's easy to read. So yeah, so that was also good. I think I read, I want to say like 25 pages yesterday. I have 2 more articles to read for this section before I can start the assignment. But yeah, that's about it. And then today I am going to work, and I'm going to start listening to I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter, which is also for my banned books class. It's for the next section. And I had debated like starting the book before I finished this assignment, but I don't think I'll have any like confusion, you know, writing about them. Like I took notes during All Boys Aren't Blue and Genderqueer, so even though I'm like moving ahead with my reading, I don't think I'll be confused about it also. Yeah, that's about it. So I will check in tomorrow with my thoughts on I'm Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter. I am so sleepy. Just one of these days I would love to feel like caught up on sleep. That'd be great. So My main update is that I've started listening to I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter. I'm about a third of the way through it. I'm going to talk about what the book is about first. So, the book follows Julia, who is 15, and at the beginning of the book, it's set at the funeral of her 22-year-old sister, who was killed after getting hit by a semi. And Olga has always been the perfect Mexican daughter. She never, really went out at night. She took care of her parents, stayed home with them, did essentially what they wanted. Pretty much just went with the flow. Julia is very different. She's opinionated, she's stubborn, she's a lot of things. I'll talk about Julia in a second. But Julia discovers something about Olga, which implies that there's more to Olga than Julia knew. And so she is going to try to figure out who Olga really was. Outside of this, perfect daughter reputation that she had. And it sounds really interesting, especially with how it deals with Mexican-American culture and how that can sort of butt heads between generations, which is, I think, the main reason that this is assigned for one of my classes. Which is good, because if it was assigned as, analyzing character development, I would rip this book to shreds. I hate Julia. I don't think she's a good main character. I kind of think she's a sociopath. She's so judgmental and selfish. And I get that she's 15. But I remember being 15. And I still tried to take other people's feelings into account. Julia does not. She straight up dumped the information of Olga's death on a childhood friend who didn't know that Olga had died. And it was just they asked how Olga had been, and Julia was like, oh, she got ran over by a semi, she's dead. And then just walked away. And it was that poor girl. And then later, it occurred to Julia that she may have upset that friend and tries to find her, but can't. Probably because the friend was so upset that she left the party they were at. So I'm I get that Julia is 15. I get it. I also don't think that in a book for young adult people, I don't think we should be showing the most callous person that a 15-year-old could be. And I should have known that I would not like Julia, because at some point within the first third of the book, which felt like it took 6 hours, by the way. It didn't, but it felt like it did. I think she's reading Catcher in the Rye, and I think she's read it a couple times before that, and I'm just oh, well, no wonder you suck. Your role model's Holden Caulfield. Ugh. I hated Catcher in the Rye. Actually, I felt a lot of the same feelings. So, yeah, I'm not gonna like this book, but I have to finish it for my class. So there's that. I'm not having a good time with it. I don't want to listen to it today. I really, really don't, but I also want to finish it as soon as possible. Conflicting feelings. So, those are my thoughts. I haven't really read anything else. I read 2 parashot from the Torah yesterday. So I'm almost done. I have 1 parashah left. And then I'm going to... The cycle has already started over. But, and then I'm going to start reading the Haftorahs at the end of, for each week. At the end of my Shumash. And then I'll be done with that. And that, obviously will take me another year, but That is a like 1500, wait, yeah, 1500 page book that I have read. So there's that. Yay. Alright, I'm gonna go to work, continue reading this crappy book. The book isn't crappy, I will say. However, the pacing is weird because, like, there was a solid, like, I think, like, 12% where the mystery of, like, who the hell Olga really is was not touched on. So that was kind of annoying because that's kind of why I'm reading it. But the book itself is fine. The character is just shitty. So, yeah. But I'm gonna keep reading it and I'll let you know how much worse it gets. Okay, so a very quick update. I'm about 70% through I'm Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter, and all of my complaints still hold. Like, she has not gotten more tolerable. Well, I'm not gonna go into the whole thing because we're getting into spoiler territory. She's now in Mexico with her grandmother. And I feel like maybe she's becoming, like, a little more tolerable. So, and I can have some sympathy for, obviously, what she's going through and how things progress to get her to Mexico. So I can have sympathy and still not like her as a person. I'm talented like that. But my big complaint right now is that all of the, like, synopses about this book, whether, well, I haven't looked at it physically, but, like, that I have found online, say that Julia is trying to solve the mystery of who Olga really was with the help of her best friend, oh crap, what's her name? Lenora, I think? And her boyfriend, Connor. That's a lie. Like, that's my big complaint, is that the synopsis is lying. And I don't have the physical book, so I don't know what the actual book says. But most of the time, Storygraph has the synopsis from the book. But it's really bothering me that that's a lie. Because Lenora, or whatever her name is, I know it starts with an L, like, is barely helping. And, like, at this point, it has been a year and a half since Olga died. Like, Lenora is, like, barely helping. And the most that she's helped is just sort of getting Julia in contact with whoever Julia is asking to get in contact with. And that's sort of it. And then regarding her boyfriend, like, I don't know if they're going to get back together, but they're currently not together. And they were dating for, like, most of the summer, and, like, he didn't help her do anything with Olga. Like, they dated, and it was actually, like, it was kind of cute. But, like, he didn't help her with anything. And so I'm just like, that's my big complaint right now, is just that synopsis is fucking lying. You know, I wanted this to be, like, a sort of a murder mystery almost, even though, like, she wasn't murdered. But I wanted them to, like, work together and try to figure out who Olga was. And so far, it's only been Julia. Which is fine, except I was led to believe that it'd be a group of people. So, that's really annoying. So, there's that. I should finish it today. But, well, I mean, not but. I should finish it today. And, because even if I don't finish fully on the drive, because, like, Today will maybe have like a little bit less driving than what I have had this week, just because there's less traffic on Sundays. I would just go ahead and finish it when I get home, just to get it done with. I didn't read anything like book-wise yesterday. I read articles for my class so that I can do the assignment that's due tonight when I get home. So there's that. And that's kind of the plan. So yeah, I spent pretty much all this week, again, only reading for class. I have to figure out a new title for this vlog. That's not last week's title. Anyway, I'm gonna go to work. Okay. I finished I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter. I'm honestly a little sorry that that's the only book I've read this week. Like, besides the Torah, which I don't really talk about, and then like the first 2 units of that women, gender, sexuality textbook. Like, other than that, it's just I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter. And it's because I finished Genderqueer too. Most of this week has been I Am Not Your Perfect Mexican Daughter. I didn't like it, in case that wasn't abundantly clear. And for the most part, it's because of Julia. Like, I get that she's a teenager, I get that she's going through a lot, but it sounds like she was insufferable before her sister died. So there's that. Also, I do feel a little, like, misled by the synopsis. Okay, pause. I want to look up what the official synopsis is. Not the one on Storygraph, but I want to Google it and see what the synopsis is. Alright, I went to Amazon. Okay, so it's interesting because the description on Amazon, which presumably comes from the book, is the same as Storygraph. And it says, in the last paragraph, it says, it's not long before Julia discovers that Olga might not have been as perfect as everyone thought. With the help of her best friend Lorena and her first love, first everything boyfriend Connor, Julia is determined to find out. Lorena didn't help. Neither did Connor. Now, there's a little, like, thing in the pictures. It says, what is it about? I feel like this, some reason more descriptive, it's much shorter. It says, after her perfect sister Olga's tragic death, Julia struggles with family expectations and Mexican-American identity while uncovering secrets about Olga's life. That is accurate. Anyway, okay. So it's a minor thing, right? But it really bothered me. Because, like, Lorena didn't help. She actually, multiple times, told Julia that she should stop digging. That she should just move on. And, you know, pretend that Olga was this perfect daughter. But Julia can't do that. Because she is constantly compared to Olga. That is why, like, Julia, in a lot of ways, is not the perfect Mexican daughter. But it's so abundantly clear because Olga was. And so this constant comparison, even after Olga dies, I'm like, because she finds out Olga's secret. I'm not going to say what it is. But she finds it out, and she sort of debates, like, multiple times throughout the latter half of, like, should I tell my parents about Olga? And I'm like, why? Why? If not just to spare them the pain of also feeling this, like, conflicting feelings about their oldest daughter. Like, but the reason she says is because they deserve to know. It's like, no, you want them to stop looking at Olga as perfect, so they stop comparing you to her, so that they cut you some slack. That's why you want to do it, because you're 16. So Julia just really bothered me. And I think I said this the other day, but I knew as soon as Catcher in the Rye was mentioned multiple times, this was not going to be the book for me. I hated Catcher in the Rye. I felt a lot of the same things I feel about this book. So I gave it a 2-star. I didn't like it. It wasn't god-awful. Like, the writing was decent. I do feel like the summary was misleading. I want to find it, like, in physical copy and see what the summary is. Just to fuel my anger. But, like, it was... The writing itself was fine. I thought the plot and the pacing was weird. The characters were crap. Because I put it through Compile, the character category, I gave it 1 point because I liked one of Julia's friends, Wanga. I liked him. And then I understood her mom. Now, do I think her mom was a little bit, like, harsh and controlling? Yes. Do I understand why? Yes. And that's another thing. Julia, like, she learns more about her mom as well to give context for her mom's, like, very controlling behavior. And that doesn't do anything. Like, Julia's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But she's still, like, she still sucks. And it's like, no, it actually makes a lot, like, you can cut her some slack. You can still be frustrated by it, but you can cut her some slack. So, yeah, so, for characters, I gave it a 1.5 out of 10. I stand by that. I just really didn't like it. I really didn't like this book. I thought that it could have been the struggles with fitting expectations about growing up in a Mexican family in America and what it means to be a first-generation immigrant. Like, I felt like that could have been done so differently to where Julia was still, I would say, a decent teenager. She can be a teenager. She can be a teenager. That's fine. She was a god-awful teenager. like, teenagers are expected to be selfish. I have no issue with that. Like, that is real. Because of how their brains develop. But, like, Julia took it to a different level. So, I'm just like, it's one of those things I'm like, I think I'm too old for reading young adult. Like, I had a couple books where I liked them a lot. And then with this, I'm just like, I think I'm too old. So, I gave it a 2. It has plenty of other positive ratings, so I don't feel like I'm hurting it at all, which is fine. I have to decide what I'm going to write about it, because I have to write a paper about this. That'll be interesting. So, but that was the book that I read this week. And honestly, I feel like it took years off my life. And if you like this book, I'm really happy about that, honestly. Because I think what it was aiming to do is important. I just didn't like Julia. That's it. So I'm going to end this vlog. Hopefully next week is better, reading-wise. It should be. And I will talk to you guys in the next video. So make sure that you leave a comment, like the video, subscribe, click the notification bell. And I'll talk to you next week.